Hello, I'm Stephen Mather, Solicitor and your business lawyer. This week, you may have seen that Ryanairs Jab Go advert was banned by the ASA. The watchdog held that the advert was inaccurate and misleading. So it's been banned by the ASA following 2,500 complaints, one of the most complained about adverts on TV last year. The Advertising Standards Agency investigated the ad shown at Christmas time, which suggested that people booked flights for Easter and summer 2021 with the headline Jab and Go and a voiceover saying vaccines are coming. The watchdog held that the ad was misleading. It said, quote, "Based on the information available at the time, it was clear that it was highly unlikely that societal groups outside of phase 1 of the rollout of vaccines would be maximally protected in time to holiday in either summer or Easter 2021. We understood that any travel restrictions, either on leaving the UK or entering other countries, and other restrictions such as social distancing and mask wearing were likely to remain the same for both vaccinated and non-vaccinated individuals in at least the short to medium term." Ryanair said that the ruling effectively bans travel ads for Easter and summer this year and maybe further afield too. It says it was a factual and accurate advert and that Boris Johnson himself had said that the vaccine rollout could look forward to us seeing a freer Easter. I thought I'd therefore put together a quick video on the guide and a guide to the laws and regulations on advertising in the UK and why it's important to comply with them and the pitfalls to avoid. So the first question is, why should your small business care about getting its advertising right and compliant? Advertising in the UK is regulated by a combination of legislation and self-regulation, although the latter is enforced by the Advertising Standards Agency. If you get your advertising wrong, then negative results are likely to be seen, including, for example, disappointed consumers, loss of consumer confidence in your brand or organisation, negative publicity, a loss of reputation. Decisions being from the Advertising Standards Authority are being reported. Referrals to trading standards, costs of the wasted advertising spend, recall of adverts, and that kind of thing. So it's important, therefore, to get your advertising right. The primary legislation which governs claims made in advertising is the Consumer Protection from Unfair Trading Regulations 2008. These regulations prohibit unfair commercial practices and contain a list of 31 unfair practices which are always unfair and prohibited, and therefore there's no defence or excuse. These include things like displaying a trust mark or quality mark without having one, falsely stating that a product is only available for a very limited time in order to elicit an immediate decision to buy, describing something as free if there's something to pay. They also prohibit aggressive practices, that's using harassment or coercion to induce the sale, for instance, exploiting a specific misfortune to affect a decision to buy. Misleading actions, providing false or misleading information about things like the price or features. Even omissions such as hiding or providing unclear information about the product or failing to identify it as an advert, as in the case of influencer marketing. And also there's a catch-all general unfair practices which are not covered by the above. The regulations are primarily business to consumer, but can also catch out businesses to business practices which affect consumers. Breach of regulations can be a criminal offence, and it gives consumers certain rights such as a right to a refund, but the breach is more likely to cause damage to one's business in reputational terms. There's a few other laws which are relevant to advertising content. These include the Business Protection from Misleading Marketing Regulations, which contain prohibition on advertising that misleads, sector-specific legislation, such as in the tobacco and gambling industry, intellectual property law, obviously you can't use trademarks, images, music without them being licensed, defamation law, privacy law, the law of passing off. So what about self-regulation and the Advertising Standards Agency? The two main self-regulation codes are the BCAP code for TV and radio advertising and the CAP code for non-broadcast advertising, which includes online advertising. The CAP code is the one that's enforced by the Advertising Standards Agency, the ASA. The ASA can require that adverts be amended or withdrawn, which is what typically happens when you read that an advert has been banned. And the ASA publicises its decisions, as we saw with the Ryanair one. Key principles of the CAP code are that advertising must be legal, decent, honest and truthful. It's particularly important to avoid causing offence on the grounds of race, religion, sex, sexual orientation and disability. They need to be responsible with a sense of responsibility to consumers and society. They need to be not misleading, not exaggeration, and they need to objectively prove any claims made. Okay, so what's the best way to ensure you comply with advertising law and avoid the common pitfalls? So you should ensure that your advertising is based on what your product actually offers. You should ensure that if you're doing direct marketing, that you're complying with data protection and privacy rules, as well as the rules on direct marketing itself. If you're conducting a price or prize promotion, then you need to check the appropriate rules that apply there. Fundamentally, you need to avoid misleading the consumer. You shouldn't disparage competitors without a good reason, and you shouldn't infringe other parties' intellectual property rights. Finally, don't make an advert that would make your mum or your gran uncomfortable. Keep it decent. Thanks for watching. I've been Stephen Mather, solicitor and your business lawyer. You can find me at www.stephenmather.co.uk and all over social media. Don't forget to hit subscribe, and thanks for watching.